Yo, what's up guys? So I wanted to make a second video about macros. In my first video, I covered the primary hunter macros I use to improve my quality of life in arenas and battlegrounds. However, I missed two really important ones, so I'm going to cover those today. The first one is Roar of Sacrifice. So right now in early Shadowlands, every class is extremely bursty, especially rogues, hunters, boomkins, warriors. I mean, pretty much every class can two-shot you. So I will actually start games oftentimes when I see a very bursty class like a rogue with my pet out in the arena. And the reason why is you're going to lose the 10% buff, 10% damage buff, but you're going to gain Roar of Sacrifice without needing to use a global cooldown. So you can protect yourself in a cheap shot, in a Hammer of Justice, or whatever stun. And the macro I use is it essentially casts Roar of Sacrifice on myself or my mouseover target. So if I press Control A, it's going to quickly roar me. And I also have two more for my teammates. So if I press Control S, it's going to protect party number one, and then Control D is party number two. So having your pet out is extremely important against crit heavy classes when you know their opener is going to be dangerous, like again, rogue or mage. And then if not, if you don't have your pet out, I actually have a line in here that calls my pet very quickly. So if I know that they're about to go on me, I'll press Control A once to call my pet, and then Control A again to sack myself. And that's how I protect myself from getting one or two shotted really quickly. Now the second macro that is going to really help you catch stealth classes is this Hunter's Mark macro. So the way it works is, ignore this line right here because this is just a simple mouse over where I can just Hunter's Mark whatever I moused over. The part that you really want to look at is this: clear target, target near enemy, cast Hunter's Mark. Because you can spam this and it'll essentially mark the closest unit that you pick up who's in Viz. So in the beginning of the game, if I'm in Viz and then I want to, oh shit, did I actually mess up my macro? Whoops. Alt 2 is my invis button, so I actually messed that up. But if I spam my macro key, which is the top of my mouse button, I will actually keep casting Hunter's Mark on the nearest enemy until I find them. And so right now it's just casting it on this dummy, but if there was a rogue that popped up for a split second, I would have caught him, and then you can, trap them, you could explosive shot them and start your rotation, you can do whatever, but this is how you catch invis people. So let's put these two macros in practice. I'm going to go ahead and queue into a skirmish just to show you guys how it works. So we're inside the arena and there is a marksman hunter that we're going against. So I'm going to show you how the hunter's mark macro works as well as the roar of sacrifice. Because this hunter, if I catch him, he's probably going to bust his true shot. If he's bad, he's probably going to also double tap, and then he's going to go for a kill. And if he's Curian, he's going to put resonating arrow. That's a lot of crit and damage coming out at once. So you want to roar either yourself or your teammate very quickly. Now I'm in Viz. I'm essentially spamming the... Oh shit, I got caught. Okay, I'm still going to spam it. Doesn't really matter. Even if he opens up on me, I'm just going to roar myself. Okay, there's this true shot. Boom. Look at that. Look at that. I'm no crit on me. Alright, so I'm good. Now I'm going to go on him. He's not that great, but that's how I survived. So in that match, we successfully used a Roar of Sacrifice to mitigate a lot of the hunter's damage. He actually got me to 50% through that resonating arrow opener, but because he didn't crit me, arguably I didn't die. I wasn't able to catch him in stealth, so I'm going to show you a quick 10-second clip of me using the Hunter's Mark macro in another game where I caught the rogue pretty much instantly. So let me show you that clip real quick. We're going against rogue. That means I got pet out because he's probably going to kill me in his stun lock. I'm going to go in Viz, and now I'm going to use the Hunter's Mark macro. So I'm just going to literally spam it. Oh, boom, there you go. Look at that. I got him really quickly. All right, guys, so hopefully you saw the power of that macro. You can catch people in stealth almost instantly, sometimes so quickly that you don't even notice you caught them yourselves. So be on alert about that. With Roar of Sacrifice and Hunter's Mark macros, you should be able to not only survive some nasty openers, but also set up your own openers on people who are stealthed. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is key bindings. For me, key bindings are really important because you don't ever want to be clicking anywhere on your map. But for a tune like Hunters, which have quite a bit of keybinds, it can be a little bit cumbersome. I don't really want to make a video telling you exactly what to keybind, but I'll give you some, best practices and guides that I use that have helped me. So first and foremost, you need to understand which hunter spells are pretty much useless and shouldn't live in your UI. And for me, that's going to be, if I go to the hunter tab, Eye of the Beast and Eagle Eye. Like these two arguably have no value in any situation for me. So I don't even have them anywhere in my UI. And then various forms of call pet. You can just macro your call pet into the Roar of Sacrifice like I did. And then the pet utility aspect of it, you could even have a macro that feeds your pet, dismisses your pet, and heals your pet all with one button. So scan through all the spells that you use and get rid of things that you believe are useless. The second best practice I have with keybinds is have all of your important, most often used keys really accessible. So for me, my finger can go from 1 through 5 very easily, which means that 1 through 5 are going to be some of my most important shots, like aim shot, rapid fire, as well as conch shot. That's number 5. 6 becomes sniper shot, which I very seldomly use unless it's a battleground. I pretty much never use sniper shot in the arena. So that's best practice number 1. Number 2 is you also want to keybind things close to your WASD hand so you can get to them very easily. For me, things like explosive shot is my backstroke key. I believe that's the name of the key. It's the one to the left of number 1. That key is explosive shot. Shift F is feign death, which is easy, and it's F for feign death. Um, Shift E is disengage, which is really easy for me to access as I move up and down. Shift Q is explosive shot, which helps me get out of situations. B is binding shot, and B is bag for some people. I actually use Control B as bag, and I use B as binding shot because I want to use this really quickly in PvP situations. V is also easy for me to reach with my hand, so that's my counter shot. C is easy for me to reach, so it's scatter shot. You kind of get the picture, right? Like if your hand is mostly on WASD, you want the rest of your keybinds to be within 2 or 3 characters away from WASD, depending on the size of your hand, and then use various versions of Control and Shift and Alt. So I use Control, Shift, and Alt, and permutations of that as most of my keybinds. And then lastly, of course, we covered this in my first macro video, but I do have some buttons on my mouse, and that's my focus targets. So setting a focus and swapping focus is going to be what I use on my mouse, and then the top of my mouse button is going to be catching the rogues out of invis. All right, hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for tuning in, and yeah, let's go crush some people in the arenas.